Persistent heavy rain causing flooding problems in parts of our area, and if it doesn't move soon, it's only going to get worse. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi, my friends. Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We are your home for Caribbean weather. It's nice to see you for the latest video. I hope you're doing well. And right off the bat, I want to thank you for taking part of your day, your time, and spending it with me here on the channel. Thanks for finding enough value in what we're doing to take that valuable time and join us. Hope things are well in your area. Coming up in this video, we're going to be talking about some significant rainfall in our western zones. I've got your island by island rainfall forecast, and it's November, but it's still hurricane season. We'll look at the tropical update for you guys as well. As always, Meteo Mundo is sponsored by the Lane Law Firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. They offer free consultation and policy reviews, so if you have property damage of any kind, check them out. It's leanonmelaw.com for more information. So let's get started with what's happening across the area. We have our stalled frontal boundary that you can see on the surface map. And again, as we get deeper into hurricane season and through November, these cold fronts coming off the United States East Coast just have more oomph and colder air behind them, and they can get deeper into our area. This one has stalled out over the Turks and Caicos, Cuba, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and the northern sides of Central America. We have our Central American gyre and our monsoon trough, that inherent spin over Central America, and the combination of those and onshore winds causing some big problems in this area. Let's take a look at what's happening right now. We'll switch on over here to our weather computer. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Now, here's the biggest problem with what's been happening so far today, is that the bulk of the moisture is beginning to get pushed back inland. So it's developed off the coast, but when I show you guys the surface-based winds near that boundary, you're going to see they all have a bit of an easterly component. So all of this is onshore wind, and I mentioned it in yesterday's video. I was highly concerned about the potential for the significant rain in portions of northern Honduras, especially, and coastal Guatemala and Belize. And unfortunately, it's those areas where the most significant rain has fallen in the past day or two. We're talking about, 4, 6+ inches of rain in some areas, 100 to 150 millimeters, and there's no signs that this is stopping anytime soon. This is going to be a very persistent system until that front finally dissipates, but that might happen until sometime Friday or even on the weekend. You can see on our high-resolution visible satellite imagery, there's just waves of energy here, and again, it's not just some tropical downpours. We have a fair amount of lightning, so there's some convection, and there's some heavier downpours associated with some of that activity, and it's all just kind of continuing to spiral in with what's been of a fairly brisk east to northeast wind. These numbers are wind gusts in miles an hour, and our offshore buoys here in the Caribbean are showing some 25, 30 mile an hour winds, as are portions of the Cayman Islands as well. So Roatan, Utila, Guanaja, San Pedro Sula, La Ceiba, get prepared for additional heavy potential flooding rains. Always checking with your local government and local officials, but I imagine there's going to be some kinds of flood advisories, watches, or warnings issued for these areas right on through at least the late part of the week. The excessive rainfall watch is back in for Belize over the next 24 to 48 hours. Some excessive rain is likely. We have the small craft advisory into play, so obviously boaters need to be prepared for what's going to be some kicked up sea conditions as well. Now, I mentioned this as well, the farther north that you go in Quintana Roo, you are north of the boundary and you're into the drier air. So there is a sharp cutoff or delineation of where this tropical moisture is. Some of that has streamed back over Campeche and the Merida areas, but Cancun and Cozumel has been relatively dry. But in the last couple of hours, we've had a few isolated showers develop along the coast right towards the Tulum area as well. But again, going to be a lot more scattered in nature in those spots. Now, we'll follow this heavier rain back, and again, all of this onshore wind slamming into the rest of Honduras and Nicaragua, the persistent rains over Costa Rica and Panama, and again, near that monsoon trough in that broad spin. We'll have more on that coming up. Now, the one thing that this more east wind has done is it's pulled some of the moisture away from Jamaica and the Cayman Islands for today. That doesn't necessarily mean we're completely dry by any stretch of the imagination, where we still have in Jamaica the large wave and strong wind advisory for the coastal and offshore waters of the southern side of the island. So Morant and Pedro Banks, we'll see if that's reissued again for Thursday, but still some brisk winds here, some isolated showers in the area. If you guys live on Jamaica, please, of course, keep us updated with the recovery efforts and let us know if you've had some of these isolated showers for today, but they haven't been very widespread. Same situation over most of the Cayman Islands, where yesterday was a pretty active forecast. We've had some cloud coverage and a couple of spotty showers near Grand Cayman, and a relatively tranquil forecast in the Low Cayman, Cayman Brac area, though again the winds are quite fresh. And along this boundary, the winds will stay fresh as well. Now, when I go back over to the water vapor imagery, you can see where that boundary is. Again, we have some moisture in the central, especially the southeast Bahamas, Turks and Caicos. North of where we have that boundary, we have exceptionally drier air. Let's take a look at the actual temperatures for the day at the surface in Fahrenheit, and it has been a lovely day here. Turks and Caicos, portion of the Caicos right around 80 degrees, Nassau in at 75, and look at the cooler, drier air in the northwest Bahamas today, where Freeport Lucay area right around 72 a room temperature for daytime high. As you guys know, we have the live cameras here at Meteo Mundo. Live look outside of Central Eleuthera late on this Wednesday afternoon as the sun gets lower on the horizon. Fair weather, very light winds, very low humidity, an exceptional day in the northern side of the Bahamas on this Wednesday. All right, go back over to our water vapor imagery, our visible satellite imagery here, or the infrared. I'll eventually get it right, and zoom in. Now, again, these are all going to be your current temperatures. I'm going to switch back over to wind gusts. An area that needs to continue to be dry, that's Haiti, of course, with what's been left over with Melissa. We've had a nice day here. Tranquil day over portions of the Dominican Republic. A few isolated showers have developed late today across the southern coastline from the Azua area, Bani, Santo Domingo, La Romana, San Pedro de Macorís. These are areas that could all see an isolated shower or rumble of thunder. We've had brisk winds again across the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico for today, but it's been relatively quiet. There is shallow moisture that is streaming across the area, and from time to time we can get an isolated shower, but it's been a lot of this. And this is a live look outside to Joost Van Dyke. They're enjoying the beach there at the Soggy Dollar Bar on Joost Van Dyke, and why not? What a beautiful day. We just have to show you this from time to time to, again, remind ourselves of why we live in these areas. Man, it is absolutely beautiful. Get out there and enjoy it. Appreciate our friends at the Soggy Dollar Bar showing us that live cam. And again, just a beautiful, tranquil situation. Now, we can still get some passing showers in the Lesser Antilles, don't get me wrong, right? But the moisture is shallow. These are fast-moving showers, if anything else, and, you know, more dry locations and hours than anything for Anguilla and St. Martin and St. Bart's, Saba, St. Eustatius, St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua, Montserrat, Guadeloupe. And some of you guys in the comments section below in these areas have been like, hey, Rusty, I got hit by a pretty good shower. It was brief, but it moved through. And that's the forecast I have in these areas over the next couple of days. It's not completely dry by any stretch of the imagination, but the easterlies this time of the year are a little bit more moisture starved. So if there's no bigger inherent lift in the atmosphere to promote the additional showers, you get the fast moving variety. Still gonna have some high surf advisories for the Lesser Antilles, from the Leeward Islands back down to even portions of the Windward Islands. Barbados will likely see some kind of marine advisory the next couple of days. But again, as far as rain chances go, they're relatively paltry to get down in these areas, which again leads to another beautiful shot from the Corinth St. Lucia area. As we look off towards the west, the sun already beginning to dip into the horizon, but a fantastic shot there. Again, tranquil conditions. There hasn't been a lot of breeze. From time to time, an isolated shower here or there, but that would be about it. Some of our friends in Trinidad and Tobago the last couple of days have let me know, hey, Rusty, we're some of those who have had some additional heavier showers. They've been very localized, but that opportunity will still be there for Trinidad and Tobago. Again, I don't expect them to be widespread. We'll probably favor the western sides of the islands, but please continue to let me know in the comments section below what you guys are seeing. And we're just going to stay with these easterlies. And of course, I talked about this in yesterday's video as well. They're really going to be freshening up here through the Central Caribbean. And so now for Bonaire and Curacao and Aruba, 25 and 30 mile an hour winds in the afternoon are not going to be out of the question. Doesn't look to be that prominent right now. Eagle Beach area and the Ronjestad area of Aruba, with a beautiful shot here as we pan that camera across the aqua shoreline. And just a beautiful area. Again, they're flying the yellow flags out there, but overall, this is an area that could still use some more rain, and we haven't had a lot of that lately. Let's get into your island by island forecast and your tropical updates. Again, appreciate you guys. Thanks for pushing us above 70,000 subscribers. Love each and every one of you guys. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, come join the best Caribbean weather community that you can find here on YouTube. Thank you for sharing this with your family and friends. Appreciate those who are members of the channel. That's the join button, and those memberships are now available for iOS devices. So if you're waiting and you had an iPad or an iPhone, they're now available for you. So come on and join the fantastic membership community as well. All right, so the biggest problem is going to be the fact that this isn't moving quickly anytime soon. And it's the amount of rain that is likely to fall at least through the early part of the weekend from Belize south that has my attention and the opportunity for some significant and potentially widespread flooding as well. So let's look at that, and then we're going to get into the tropics as well. We'll start off with the shorter term situation over the next couple of days, and then we'll get into the broader view of what's going to be happening for the next 7 to 10 days tropically here, if anything. But I can tell you this much. There's going to be a lot of green on the map in some locations, which will be a persistent problem. So southern sides of Quintana Roo, Belize, Guatemala, the Bay Islands, the northern sides of Honduras, the rain should likely be most persistent through Thursday and early Friday. It's going to try and break apart a little bit for late Friday and into Saturday, but even as I take you into Saturday, there's still a lot of green on the old map here. It should begin to fade, and the most significant rain is likely to occur in the next 24 to 36 hours, but there is the opportunity for an additional 4 to 6 plus inches of rain from what has already fallen. It's 100 to 150 millimeters in some locations. Towards Belize, it would probably be more like 2 to 4 inches or 50 to 100 millimeters, but you get the idea that there will be some areas with additional flooding and or flash flooding. So please be very cautious in these areas. Now, the model also wants to try and back build some rain back towards the Cayman Islands and portions of Jamaica. It's fighting drier air, but especially for the Cayman Islands, I'm not going to rule out some rain the next few days and some locally heavy downpours, but a little bit drier overall for Jamaica. Now, the farther south in South America that you go, again, we're closer to our monsoon trough, elongated from west to east, in the broad area of low pressure known as the Central American Gyre. Now that's all very active this time of the year, right? And could there be some low-level spin associated with that, either on the Pacific side or on the Caribbean side? Not in the next few days, but we'll talk about the long-term coming up. But look at this, the persistent onshore winds and that spin over Costa Rica and Panama. If you live in these areas, you have to be prepared for additional potential for heavy rain in these spots. Nicaragua would be included in this. And if I just show you guys the loop over the next 3 days, you're not going to see much of a change in most locations. Again, the east winds pushing a lot of that deeper tropical moisture back on shore. That's going to be a problem. We're just on that cutoff in Cancun and Cozumel, but we could build north a little bit more rain as we get towards the end of the week and the weekend. This shouldn't be persistent enough to cause any big issues here, but just a little bit higher chances overall in a few areas. Cuba's rain chances are going to be moderate. Again, your boundary is elongated from here to here, and as it begins to fade, there'll still be some showers here. So I've got a lot higher rain chance for the southeast Bahamas and Turks and Caicos compared to the northern and the northwest Bahamas. Nassau, New Providence, Freeport, Lucaya, Grand Bahama should be a lot drier than the Acklins and Turks and Caicos over the next 3 days. We're going to see moderate rain chances in Haiti and the Dominican Republic. And again, it's more about just avoiding the areas that have been dealing with the fallout from Melissa to get the heavier flooding rains back in. I don't see that as a big problem, thankfully, but rain chances overall across Hispaniola are likely to increase a little bit, especially beginning on Friday, potentially for portions of the weekend ahead as well. Before we move into Puerto Rico, once again, behind our cold front in Bermuda, the winds have been very fresh. Rain chances will still be there for tomorrow, and we're going to have some blustery, potentially gale conditions here in portions of the western Atlantic basin, which would include Bermuda, near gale conditions for the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos, and I'll have more on that in the marine forecast coming up in just a second. Scattered showers for Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, but nothing that's going to promote you guys or stop you guys from having to be outside, meaning promoting that you guys have to stay indoors. Should be a fairly nice forecast here. Temperatures coming down a bit as well. It's the same situation for the Lesser Antilles overall, guys. Look, I've got some rain chances here. I've got a little bit higher rain chance in the Leeward Islands compared to the Windward Islands. So Antigua, Barbuda should have a little bit higher rain chance overall than Barbados and TNT, but nothing is going to gain my attention for exceptionally heavy rainfall in these areas. These are just spotty showers. Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique. Same situation for Barbados and SVG and St. Lucia and Grenada and TNT. Don't have a lot of rain in the forecast for the next few days. Nueva Esparta and the ABC Islands. The winds will be a story, though. We'll continue to freshen up those winds. If we look at these wind vectors here, these pinks are going to be winds of 20 to 25 miles an hour or higher, and these are brisk easterly winds that will be with us here across the Caribbean. So island by island, it looks like this. Again, very low rain chance, nice dry air in the northwest Bahamas through Saturday. Relatively speaking, higher rain chances the farther south you go in the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos. Moderate rain chances in Cuba. Still relatively good rain chances in the Cayman Islands. Belize rain chances are highest tomorrow, Friday, beginning to fade some on Saturday. Cancun and Cozumel not as high as Belize, but still on the moderate side. Still some locally heavy rain is possible, but just not as widespread, and a 40% chance Friday, Saturday. Again, not a ton of rain in Jamaica, but some isolated downpours are likely. The Dominican Republic's rain chances highest tomorrow, and then a 40% chance Friday, Saturday. We're kind of all over the place in Puerto Rico. Have some showers in the forecast. Thursday, relatively dry Friday, back up to a 50% chance on Saturday. Virgin Islands rain chances are highest tomorrow, but stay on the moderate category Friday and Saturday. Some fast-moving showers likely in Bermuda for tomorrow, then more isolated over the weekend. Anguilla, again, good rain chances here, Anguilla, St. Kitts and Nevis, but as far as totals go, we get more than an inch of rain in the next few days in these areas. That's the exception. So less than 25 millimeters in most of these areas over the next 3 days, despite the fact that you see 50 and 60% chance rain chances daily in some of our islands, including Antigua and Barbuda, but just not a ton to lift this up and produce some heavier downpours. Montserrat, 60 tomorrow, 40 Friday, Saturday. We begin to fade after that, 50 in Guadeloupe tomorrow, 40 in Dominica, and then back down to a 30% chance. Martinique with a few 20s mixed in. St. Lucia, SVG, relatively dry forecast, with some increased winds will kick up the seas near Barbados and Grenada and TNT. Suriname and Guyana should stay with a moderate rain chance. Nueva Esparta, not much, and an even lower chance for the ABC Islands. You want some of that rain in the ABC Islands, which some of you have had, right? Some of the friends of the channel have mentioned you've had some rain in the ABC Islands lately, but boy, has it been isolated. So when we look at the wave heights and directions, again, what you're really looking for, greens, yellows, and oranges on this map. Excuse me one second. Now again, if you look in the short term, you're going to see just how exceptionally high the waves are likely to be in the central and the western side of the Caribbean. But those should abate or die down as the boundary stalls and fades and moves away. And then we're also going to see another cold front coming off the United States East Coast, which is likely to kick everything right back up in the Western Atlantic Basin after one or two quieter afternoons. But the biggest widespread impact is going to be the potential for the rainfall. This is what it looks like on the European model. Again, it doesn't go any farther north than the central sides of Quintana Roo. I mean, that boundary is absolutely the line between the drier air and the moisture-laden air with the monsoon trough. And it is raining cats and dogs south of there. When you look at the highest maximum, you're at 22 inches of rain. Let me be clear, I don't expect that in Central America, but 10 to 12 inches is not out of the question, with some additional heavy rainfall for the southeast Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, and yes, down the road, not in the short term, but maybe towards the end of next weekend or the end of this weekend and early next week, we could see additional heavier rain coming back into the southern side of the Lesser Antilles. This is what it looks like on the GFS model. We're gonna go back over to our total precip. Again, this is just over the next 5 days. Now, remember yesterday, we were looking at some 10, 12, even 14-inch rainfall totals. This takes into account nothing that's already fallen. So it's what additional could fall. So you're not going to see now, because we've had an extra 24 hours, you're not going to see 10, 12, 14 inches of rain, but you're going to see an additional 4, 5, 8 inches of rain possible in some of these areas. So you add this onto what has already fallen, and that's the problem. Hopefully, again, this really starts to break apart late Friday and Saturday, but you can see near the coastline, there's a couple of spots. Now, the GFS model is a little bit less than what the European is for the northern sides of Honduras, but if we get an additional 2 to 4 inches, we're up to 100 millimeters, or maybe even up to 150 additional millimeters, up to 6 inches of rain, it's still a problem here, flash flooding, especially if that happens in some of the higher terrain of the northern sides of Honduras. And then you just follow the coastline down through Honduras and Nicaragua and back into Panama and Costa Rica. And again, near this CAG, near this monsoon trough, that heavy rain is not going anywhere. I just hope all of it falls offshore, but several inches of rain are likely in the next few days in Panama and Costa Rica. And again, you follow the boundary east, portions of the northeast side of Cuba, southeast Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, could see a few more inches of rain here. The rest of the Bahamas should be relatively quiet. And again, down the road, we could elevate rain totals for TNT and other portions of the Windward Islands. So when we look at the potential for tropical development, okay, nothing is really showing anything significant, right? This is the GFS model. Now we're still going to have a couple of areas here near that monsoon trough. There's a little bit of a model bias, trying to develop a low-level center with the broader inherent spin. But the deeper we get into November, just the lower chance that ends up being. But just to show you guys this, the problem is that even if this doesn't become anything tropical, meaning a weak depression, if we get any kind of more significant spin down here, it's just going to throw with counterclockwise winds, especially in this part of the Southwest Caribbean. All of that on the north side is going to be an east onshore wind to push additional rain back into the areas that are already flooding. And this is the European model. Now, I started this towards the weekend just to show you that as we get over the weekend and early next week, the European is still trying to hold on to a little bit of a scenario where we do get a spin up that actually moves across Central America and into the Pacific. That happens from time to time. Very weak system, but again, what's the problem with that? It's going to be pulling all the moisture back inland across Central America and Quintana Roo with the easterly onshore wind. So we don't want that scenario regardless to happen because of the additional rain that it's likely to bring. But this is the time of the year that can be very active where we could have some significant flooding in these spots. And unfortunately, I think it's going to be setting up for the next 7 to 10 days overall to be quite active in those locations. Friends, as always, you can follow us across all of our social media platforms. That's the wrong button. We're on Instagram, TikTok, X, and Facebook. Send me a picture or video. The easiest way to do that, myMediaMundo@gmail.com. Now, as always, remember, Media Mundo is sponsored by the Lane Law Firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. Wind, hail, hurricane damage, heck, you've got a burst pipe. They'll walk you through that insurance claim process. LeanOnMeLaw.com for more information. Love to hear from you guys. You got a question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comments section below. And again, I appreciate you taking part of your day and spending it with me. You have a great rest of your day. I'm back tomorrow with the latest forecast right here at Media Mundo.